And what?
To call the meeting to order. Just cue me if I'm forgetting anything. We'll start with our land acknowledgement, or do we need to do a vote to?
No, just call the meeting to order,
Okay.
and it is 9. I have 17 on my laptop. I don't think that's really. No,
In our land acknowledgement, we respectfully acknowledge that the township of Cavan Monaghan is located on the Treaty 20 Michi-Sagi territory and the traditional territory of the Michi-Sagi Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to First Nations for their care and for teaching about these lands. May we honor those teachings. Sorry, these teachings. And then approval of the agenda. Everyone take a quick look. And then if I can have a motion.
a motion.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Thank you. Item number 4, disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Do you have any issues today? Okay, moving on. We do not have any closed session items to discuss today, do we?
No.
Okay. Item 6, let's just go. Meetings of the meeting held on October 10th. Everyone, if they haven't had a chance previously, just to take a quick review. And if you're good, I just need a motion and a second, please. Thank you. I guess we can jump into item number 7, the financial report. Thank you, Chairman Stewart. So the financial report, as committee members are aware, at our last meeting on October 10th, we had a detailed discussion about our work program for 2024 and the budget implications for that program. The committee passed a motion on proposed budget for the committee for 2024. The information in that motion was circulated to the finance department as per standard township protocol. And the budget request was put into the first draft of the budget. That first draft of the budget has been reviewed by council at a special budget meeting in December. And at that time, there were 2 projects that were not carried forward for us for 2024. The first of those projects, and they were both new projects. So the first project was the bell. That project was moved. So council does support the project, to be clear, but they think it's premature at this point in time. They're going to move it to the Parks and Facilities Department as part of the greater parkland development at the old Millbrook Arena site. So that work still has to be done. So they will be looking for information and input from the Mr. Hack Committee at the time that project gets rolling. In the meantime, if the committee is interested, and we can discuss this during the work program discussion, we could be looking at doing some research on the history of the bell and some interesting tidbits or stories about the bell that we might want to include in the presentation of the bell at the downtown site. Is there anything in the bell? There is there may be parkland developed at the site of the old Millbrook Arena. Okay, and so that's something that will come forward in the future. And so we will participate in that at the time. The other project that is not supported by council is the porch light project. I don't, Councillor Edgerton can speak to this further if he chooses, but I think council believed that the porch light project was not necessarily a heritage project. So it has been cut from the budget. Having said that, if the committee feels strongly that we would like to pursue this work in 2024, there is an opportunity on January the 25th to make a presentation to council as part of a special budget meeting. That meeting will occur at 1 o'clock. We would need to appoint someone, or someone would have to volunteer to go and make the case before council. And so we would have to decide that today, if that's something the committee wants to pursue. Yes, so following that, so our other projects in terms of the Heritage Awards, the contracted services for the mural restoration, the landscaping at Station Park, Springville and Ebenezer Cemetery restoration, are all in the budget. The last item that we need to talk about is the Heritage Coordinator position. So there was money put in the budget to carry that on because we had grant funding. We had 2 tries at attracting a staff member to continue that work. We have been unsuccessful. So the grant money is.
Yeah, we had to respectfully go back to the Young Canada Works and turn the money down.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Yes. Having said that, though, so we do have information. We are going to carry on with the bylaws. Connor left us in good state, so we have enough information with Ashley's help to finish the bylaws of the existing heritage designated properties. So that work will continue, and there is a budget allotment of $6,000 still in the budget for that work. So I'm not sure, Madam Clerk, do we want to talk about the Porchlight project and the presentation to council at this point in the agenda, or will we talk about that as part of the work program?
I think through you, Vice Chair, to myself, I think we would talk about it. Now we brought it up, so I think let's just talk about it while we're having this discussion.
Sorry, so if we just want to discuss the Bell, sorry, not the Bell project, or the Bell project and the Porchlight project, or. So I think the respectfully to you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee, the Bell project is still on the radar. Okay. And it will happen in the future. It's just not something that's gonna be directed by this committee in 2024. Okay, we will be involved in the longer term. Okay. The Porchlight project has not been supported, so essentially it is.
Dead.
Yes, okay, that's fine.
Where's council?
As far as council is concerned, if it's not dead and it's something that you truly support, someone needs to go to council and make a case to have it at least reconsidered. So that's something that the committee needs to decide.
So maybe we make a decision whether we want to pursue that about the Porchlight project. Can we just have an open discussion? Is there anyone that, I know that Deborah sort of took the lead, that was her sort of baby,
Yeah.
let's say. And obviously she is not able to attend today, but was there anyone else that was as determined as she was that would like to, or felt they supported her as much as she was invested in the project?
Let's just say I consider it a modern heritage project in terms of, when you look back at the 1800s, I don't know if we had a lot of light bulbs at the time. Something more that Deborah said was popular in the 40s and 50s, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's an interesting idea. A lot of people don't know about it. It does exist in a few other communities. But I think understanding a little bit of the council dilemmas and everything else, money's tight. And I don't know if this is something that the committee would want to pass on for funding through another source. So it doesn't come out of the township's pocketbook. So I think it's a viable project, but is it worth going to council and asking them for money again and being turned down, as opposed to maybe looking if there's another financial Because, you know, I look at the cost and we talked about it as a committee and maybe we can find, someone who would donate the bulbs. You know, then it just becomes the cost of the stickers. I think there's other ways of probably doing this without necessarily having to go to council for money. So. That's just.
Thank you.
3,000.
Personally, I just had some concerns around safety. Comparing like the 50s, 60s today, I don't know if we were opening up a can of worms. We're sort of promoting this brighten, create safety, open up the lights, but does that then say, you know, anyone with a porch light is a safe place to go? I don't know. It was just making me very, very nervous. I didn't know much about the other projects and sort of the content and the application and the other projects that Deborah was referencing. So I think at this time, maybe just to put a pin in the project, and if it gets picked up elsewhere or at another time, or if in another year we can swing it in a different way to make it more heritage related, perhaps. But that's, I think, where I'm sitting with that one right now. I personally, I don't have the gusto to go to the council, the passion, thank you, to go fight for that one. Anyone else?
Well, a porch light would be okay, but distinguish between a porch light that's supposed to be safe and someone that always leaves their lights on. Because you got your dusk to dawn lights, and there is some down here in the village. Where out in the country, you wouldn't have that porch light thing, because it's basically in a controlled area in the village. And, or in Cabinet, and being on the highway there. But I don't, it's like the safety, like you said, Ashley, the safety feature. I mean, everybody had the sign in their window for COVID and to support, and then you've got that other sign you used to put in the window if somebody needed help. You can put them in, but I mean, somebody comes to your door at 11 o'clock at night, knocking on your door, I'm not letting them in. And
Well, I think that's probably the Achilles heel to this idea, and I agree with you. I wouldn't want the fact that my light's on saying, hi, come on in, but more like, I see you. So if there is a nefarious thing possibly happening, my porch light, security purposes, which is a good advantage because it's like, if I can see you, then, so it's an advantage if the lights are on, but not wanting to sort of adopt if the light's on, you can come.
yeah,
That I would never agree at the best of times. So
Mhm.
I think that would have to be, I don't know what you want to say, a hidden meaning behind the porch lights, more like, let's just make the town more eliminated.
Mhm.
Without adding the extra, it's a safe house if my light's on, because then everybody's gonna turn the lights on.
And I think that's where the project was going. It was to light up the community, right? It wasn't, I don't want to speak for Deb, but that was my understanding. It was not to invite people in, but it was to light up.
Yeah.
The community so that you did at least feel somewhat safer if you were out walking
Yeah.
or visiting your neighbors or
Yeah.
I
whatever.
think as you're coming over the crest of the hill and you see Millbrook, right?
Yeah.
It's lit up, it looks inviting.
Yeah.
And maybe it's something that, you know, further research is required and it could be brought back again if that research.
You mean, I just being creative, I would say, well, maybe I'm gonna write to some light bulb companies and say, hey, you want to test a new long-lasting light bulb?
Mhm.
We've got a program that would be a great testing, whatever, and get the light bulbs donated, and then it's simple hoopla and website stuff with the town to say to people, you want a light bulb, you know, come here and whatever, so. But yeah, I mean, we're not a town that's known for having streetlights every 100 feet.
And I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's, personally, I think it's wonderful, like driving and then you see like the glow over Peterborough, I'm just like,
Yeah.
that's why I love Toronto.
But when you're walking the dog lane at night and you're in that dark spot, you know, and there's ice or who knows what, it's nice to see a little bit of extra light. So somebody's got a porch light on, it doesn't cost them anything in terms of energy consumption. It's kind of a good idea, but definitely not the lights on, come on in, no. Maybe that's what it says on the sticker, right?
That's what I got from the girl that was promoting, but it was a safe place to run it, there's something going on, safe place to go. Gotta be careful with inviting people to the door.
Okay, do we need a motion, Madam Clerk, or we've made a decision, so we can just move on?
We can move it on. We just need a motion to receive your financial report. But I think we can factor in the minutes that if you discuss, decided to not pursue it. I don't think there is a motion. to not pursue it, because we're looking to-
So we just need a motion to capture the financial report presented by Karen. Okay, and do I have a seconder? Okay, thank you.
On the bill here, I have some pictures of that got first, if you want to look at it, like it does need a bit of work before it's hung. Not like it, haven't been down, but
So I think we can, I think we know that this before, we can discuss that under the work plan, right? Okay, perfect. So we'll just put a pin in that for a moment and we'll just get under some more items. We'll discuss that when we go through the chart. Okay, item number 8, general business, resignation of Peter Ramsey. Do we need to chat about that and
So I think through.
just a
you-
little update?
Yeah, Vice Chair, unfortunately, we have received a resignation from Peter Ramsey, and so that would leave the vacancy of the chair open. So what the committee would need to do is accept Peter's resignation, unfortunately. We will send him a letter of thanks for everything he's done for our committee. And then we will need to appoint a new chair and a new vice chair. I do have a motion drafted when, if that will help anyone.
So I guess we'll tackle the first item is if we can have a motion to accept Peter's resignation. Okay, and second,
Under duress.
Yes, I know, it's so sad. Okay, so Karen and I will work and we'll send it to you, Ashley, just to review, we'll finalize a letter to send it, thanks as well, on behalf of the committee council.
and then we just need to appoint a new chair.
So at this time, is there anybody that would be interested in being the chair?
I don't mind being the chair. Yeah,
Okay, is there anyone that would be interested in being the vice chair, if Ashley takes chair? Okay, good. So, the motion would read that the Municipal Revitalization Heritage Advisory Committee accept the resignation of Ashley Stewart from vice chair. And that the Municipal Revitalization Heritage Advisory Committee will accept the election of Ashley Stewart as chair for the 2022-2026 term of council. And that the Municipal Revitalization Heritage Advisory Committee will accept the election of John Kohler as vice chair for the 2022-2026 term of council. And I would just need a mover and a seconder.
can I second?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank
Okay,
you both.
yes, thank you very much. Okay. I guess moving on then, terms of reference review, so back to Ms. Ellen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the Municipal Revitalization and Heritage Advisory Committee terms of reference was provided to you in the agenda package. It is here for a gentle reminder of the purpose and structure of the committee. It's intended to provide you with information so we are all clear about what our roles and responsibilities are with this committee. And you will see in the document that there are specific roles for members of the committee. There's a role of the chair for our newly appointed chair, the role of committee members, clerk, and township staff. There's additional items like composition, terms of office, et cetera. This committee is a working committee. Staff is here to provide you with assistance and guidance and help with the budget implications, et cetera. But it is a working committee, so we will be relying on committee members to direct the work program and do much of the work. If you ever have questions, comments about terms of reference or the work program, or you need assistance, I think that we always have an open door, and we would respectfully request that you approach us, and we will help you to the very best of our ability. As with all committee meetings and work at the township office, we do request that we have a respectful environment. We treat each other with respect and kindness generally. And we also have to be respectful about privacy matters. So we are live streaming these meetings, and we do want to be open and transparent, but we also have to be aware of people's personal information and certain matters. So it's a gentle reminder, just keep that in mind when speaking about specific issues or topics. Okay. Yeah, so I'm not going to go through and obviously read everything that's in the terms of reference that has been provided to you. And as I said, we are here to answer your questions, but we do appreciate your contributions to the committee and the township in general. And we are here to assist as required. So please, if you do have questions or need assistance, please don't hesitate to approach. Thank you.
Okay, item 8.3 or 2024 budget discussion and work plan. Andy Church. Okay. Yeah.
So we'll just go through them in order. Zion is here to provide information and clarification on a couple of the projects that she is the primary staff contact for. Okay. So the station parquet and the landscaping. Do you want to talk about that?
So, yeah, so we've set aside money in the budget for landscaping to get the mural created. So a little later in the agenda, I'm going to take you through a concept that we've staff have worked with the artist to kind of come up with a preliminary concept for you to review. So when that is created, then we have set aside some money just to do some landscaping around and kind of spruce up that parquet area, because it is also an entrance to the trail, and it is where the old train station used to be. So kind of want to draw the attention to that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Number 2 is the Springville and Ebenezer Cemetery restoration. So the clerk's budget does carry money for this, and we do an annual or biannual restoration. It's as required. So we do an inspection every year, and Nancy and I were supposed to do it last year. Unfortunately, Nancy was under the weather, so I went and did the inspection, and everything happily looks good. So I don't think that there is any need unless we have a very, very tough winter. I don't think there's any need to put any restoration work on the agenda at this time. So the heritage bylaw update. So the work plan before you today shows 13,500. We actually have $6,000 in the budget for this. As indicated previously in the meeting, we were unsuccessful in finding a replacement for Connor. So we've had to return some of the funds for the government grant that we got. So we are going to carry on and finish the bylaw because Connor did leave us in good shape with that. So with Ashley's cooperation and technical assistance, you're gonna continue to do bylaws in sections. So there will be another section coming forward at the next meeting that Ashley's reviewed, and we're just gonna tidy up. And then we're gonna continue to feed Ashley as she can do that. And so this will be an ongoing project for however long.
Assuming it's good. But better done than not.
Yes, and it's a methodical process, so we're going through an order, we're doing them in bunches as per the original bylaw. And so, as you remember, we've done public consultation previously before we started. So once we have the revised draft bylaw, we'll let the property owners know, we'll bring the drafts before the committee for you to look at. Then they will go to council for ultimate approval.
Should we ever get to the point, let's say we're getting close to the bylaws, or we find, another hiccup or something like that, could we potentially advertise in another 2 years or something like that to see if you need to, like, could we try again, essentially, I'm asking, to hire someone?
Yeah, I think that it was the Young Canada Works program that we accessed. There was kind of like a heritage component.
Okay.
It does look like it is kind of an ongoing funding program.
Okay.
So we could, I'm sure, unless something happens, it is a federal program, so you never know with federal programs from year to year, what's going to be safe, what isn't.
Okay.
But we could definitely try and access it again to hire, and to fulfill the, yeah.
Like if we get through all the bylaws, and remember how we wanted to review heritage structures, just, is there anything we wanted to designate? That's obviously something that even a committee can't take on themselves. That was something we're thinking the staff person could do. We could potentially.
Yeah, I think
2 years.
we got caught at a bad time because the provincial government changed the rules
Yes.
about heritage designated properties, and so they kind of shut the door. I won't say slammed, but they shut the door a little bit, that if you have properties that are on a register, they're not designated, but they're on your heritage register, you've got 2 years to get them designated or they have to come off. And so that created an environment where there was, in many larger municipalities, a great desire and need for heritage expertise. And so they have, I don't want to say sucked up, but they have hired or, retained people on contract to do this work so they can meet those provincial guidelines in terms of getting properties designated. So once, I'm not sure what's going to happen after the 2 years, whether that anything is going to change, but we can evaluate at that point in time, and the pool of expertise may rebound at that point in time. So if we did want to pursue it, we may have a better chance of hiring a qualified person.
Does this person have to be full time?
It would be a contract position.
That's right. What I'm saying, can we hire someone, like a sheriff? If someone's working in, I don't know. If there's heritage down in Hastings down there. But they have someone that they could contract out part-time? Or is it like, can
And
they,
anything is possible.
like do a part-time, like group sheriff, dog control officers and everything like that? So.
That's a good idea.
Why can't we share this?
Further to that, how many bylaws have we yet finished? Properties.
So we still have a number of bylaws to get through. We've probably got 35 yet to go. So much of the work is done. Ashley is going through them to tidy them up and provide her eagle eye on the technical matters. But we will talk about it later in the thing. We have a cultural mapping project that is dated, but there's a whole list of properties with cultural resources that can be reviewed, and we can start identifying properties or cultural assets that we might want to consider moving forward.
So if we've got 35 to go, and given our current landscape, fiscal landscape, from the township's perspective, how many do you think you could do per year?
Well, we have, through you, Chairperson Stewart, we have the technical, like Connor has completed all of the bylaws, so we have a draft of the new bylaws ready. Ashley has to do a review of that, so it will depend to a certain extent on Ashley's schedule and ability to provide that to me. And then staff will take it once we get the information from Ashley, we'll tidy up the bylaws, package it to bring it here, and ultimately then to council, make sure we get the proper notice in the newspaper, etc. So I think we're committed to moving as efficiently as possible. But life is life, so
Well, yeah, so when you're doing it in groups,
Yes,
how many would you do at a time?
well, so far, I think the biggest group I bought was 8, I think, and that took me. I think it took me 2 months.
Okay,
But maybe we should look at it the other way, is how many we've got completed so far and how long that's taken, because yes, it's on me, but then it's a bigger thing as well, because it does have to go to council as well.
Yes.
And then there's an appeal process. and
Yeah.
you know, right, yeah.
the
like,
notice,
there's the-
yeah, the process. So all of those technical components have to be done at the same time.
so this could take us 1 year or 2 years?
I'm gonna be realistic, I'm betting we're into 2025.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, if you had a designated staff person, we could probably do it all within a year. I would put it that way, so that would be someone working full-time on it. As it's draft state and then volunteer, editing, I think, yes, I would assume 2025 is very accurate. Yes.
Time flies.
Right.
So-
Yeah,
Mhm.
And that's only a year, like year, and a bit, you know,
Yeah.
we're in 2024, so
Right.
really that's, yeah.
Yes, and just to be clear, so the properties remain designated, so they still have protection, but we're just gonna update it so that it's gonna be better, and it's a good project. And we will, as I say, we will be as efficient as we can.
sorry, I sort of took us off on a tangent there. Okay, heritage boards.
Yeah, so this is an ongoing program, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an annual thing. We have Heritage Awards we always look to the community and to this committee to nominate somebody who you feel meets the criteria. There are 2 awards. There's one for actual heritage restoration, if somebody's done a project to their house or to their business and you feel that they've really maintained the integrity of the heritage component, then you could nominate them. There is also for kind of an education. So if somebody is works very hard in the community to maintain the heritage. I think as an example, we had nominated the Historical Society one time for their work in preserving and educating the community about the importance of heritage. So we do keep a little money in the budget every year to create the awards. There are nomination forms on the website. Usually we kind of do a little bit of a campaign where we kind of bring those a little closer to the front page, so it's a little easier to find. We can do some social media blasts out to the community to see if we can get nominations. They would fill out a form. We bring those forms back to the committee to evaluate. And then we select a winner and we take it to council, and there's a presentation as part of council.
Okay. Yes. And having said all that, we do ask as part of the committee, it's part of your role is to kind of put the word out to those that you meet and greet with, that we do have this award, that it's open all of the time, encourage people to nominate people who they feel are worthy.
If we have, just through you, Chair, as well, if we do have more than 2 nominees, we are able to present them now that we just do the certificate.
Yeah.
So because, and we didn't have anybody in 2023 too, so don't feel very have to keep trying to generate as many
Yeah.
as we can. There's a lot of good work being completed.
So would now be a time that we could discuss anyone that we think could whether we should potentially nominate or is that okay to discuss now, or would you prefer us to fill out a form and submit that to you?
I think you might want to fill out the forms. We are live. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's personal.
So, yeah,
information.
okay, so it's personal information and we wanna, it's, sometimes we need to do a little, research and kind of.
Yeah.
Help, okay.
Yeah, support the
Okay,
application.
just broaden it out and make
Yeah.
sure that we touch on all the points that.
Perfect.
Should somebody get nominated.
Okay. I have a couple of concepts. I'll leave it at that. I just added a little more in my, that sort of percolated.
Perfect.
So I will circulate that to the community. How about we leave it at that? Okay. Lost track of the chart. Downtown mural.
So this is me. So, we did put a little, package together. I did some pictures to kind of tell a bit of a story, behind. So back in August, we went to council, with the, request that, they support us putting a mural. So we do have our downtown mural. That's our existing mural. And we wanted to create a second mural, just in case something, just as a refresher, just in case that building sold and new owners decided they wanted to remove the mural. We wanted to have something on township property that we had a little bit more control over. So we took a report to council on August 14th. And we asked permission for a location of a new mural. So we had proposed the Station Trail entrance, because that is the site of the actual train station. There is a little parkette, and it is the entrance to one of the entrances to the Millbrook Valley Trail system. So we thought it would be a great opportunity to put a mural there, kind of telling a heritage story. So council approved that we put it on the shelter. So it would just go kind of on the side of the shelter there. It doesn't look very big there, but it is a lot bigger than it looks in that picture. But so, so I think we had updated this committee that that's what we were doing. We met with the artist. This is not what we're putting on the mural, just so you know. But I needed to, I'm kind of a visual person, so I needed to kind of sit down with the artists and say, this is kind of what our vision is, right? So we want to tell the story of a journey through heritage, right? So, and it kind of was, our former chair, Peter Ramsey, kind of had a vision that we would have kind of an older map in the backdrop of Millbrook. And it would tell the story, somebody would arrive by train to the Millbrook Junction. They would stay at a commercial hotel, which we pulled these photos from the Significant Architecture book that was put out by the Heritage Society. They would find a place to live. So 22 King Street is the old Archibald house. So we could tell a little bit of a story there. They would find a church to worship at. They would find a school for their children to learn at, and a place to work, which was the old Millbrook Bank, was on 14 King Street. We would include like a little QR code that would kind of take people to more detailed information about the location. It would also encourage them to visit the mural downtown, which was kind of at the start of this, the train station that brought them to the community. So we kind of sat down with the artist and said, this is what we're looking at. What are your thoughts? So he came back to us and he said, yeah, I think if you put it under a banner. So this is kind of his first attempt at a concept, which is why we're bringing it to this committee before we go any further. So he had suggested we kind of put it under a banner, Journey Through Heritage. And then the individual locations would kind of appear like vignettes under the banner. So this is one option for the banner, this is another, and then this is the option for the vignette. He had kind of given us two. One was kind of more of a, an actual photo. And then, the other was an actual sketch. As staff, our preference is the sketch, because we feel it has more of a heritage feel, but obviously, that would be up to this committee to kind of give us feedback. So I know I'm asking you guys to kind of visualize in your mind, but we kind of wanted to just get a concept before you and kind of say, what do you think about this? And is this, do you want us to continue down this road?
I like the concept, that was shown, like
Yeah, yeah,
how it's all connected and the map in the background is really kind of cool. But I'm a graphic nut. And, my son's in marketing and I think, without knocking anybody, I think we need to up the ante in terms of how some of the graphics work, and the banner I feel is very dated looking. And I can certainly sort of offer some other examples, just to sort of say, well, what about this or what about that?
Mhm.
You know, there's some great, I mean, I've done wayfinding for years. There's some great examples of this type of heritage information panel, if you want to call it,
Mhm.
in other municipalities, to sort of give us a model that we could follow.
Are you able to share those with the staff? That
I
we can
can.
kind of take that.
Yeah,
and-
definitely.
And try and incorporate that in.
Yeah,
our
rather than
follow-up
just saying,
conversation.
well, blah, 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 just say, well, what about this? This has got a little bit more artistic panache,
Okay,
you know?
Yeah.
You know, you want, I'm not, don't take this as negative, but I find it sleepy. The graphic, the banner is sleepy, as
okay,
opposed to something that grabs your attention and you want to stop and actually pull in at the station and go, oh, look at this.
good,
Looks cool, right?
Okay.
So. My 2 cents.
yeah, for sure.
And even with the way of life agriculture, do we not have historical photographs that we might be able to?
I'm sure we
use?
do, something that's better. It was just as a concept.
Yeah, yeah.
And our artist actually has, I think he also has a lot of heritage resources from this community
Yeah.
because of his work with the original mural, so.
Well, I'm on the Historical Society's board as well, so I can certainly
tap
jump into
that.
the archives and say, look, can we find some?
Oh, absolutely,
Some
that
stuff,
would be
right?
great, yeah, that'd be great, yeah.
Any other comments?
How far back do you want to go? On the journey, if you're starting at the junction?
Whatever you,
I don't know if they've got it in the Historical Society. I don't know if they've got the internal of the shoe store that used to be in Millbrook, which is now Pastry Meadow. And it had the grand stairway. There's a great,
yeah.
I don't know if you guys have ever
stairway.
seen the grand
Yeah,
stairway.
Yeah.
And that was a shoe store. There was a boot and shoe store. And then Stedman's, there was the two buildings on the north side were Stedman's. And you could buy anything there. Everything there. You could fit your house with it. The only thing you couldn't buy there, I don't think, was furniture. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And they're old. Like that's how far back I'm going. And the Neatner's Mill, when it actually operated. And when it actually did it. And then there was the abattoir where people hung their meat. Up there on Hay Street. That was where they hung the meat on the freezer. Like, how far back do you really want to take them?
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the pond. And the fishing boats
Mm-hmm.
and the trails. Before the trails came in.
Yeah, so that's a really, like, these are these are all great concepts, like particularly for way of life, right? Because you
And
had
then we
bus
had the
shoes,
barber
you had.
shop and Lyle's Mattress's barber shop. And we had the tack shop and we had my uncle's, my grandmother's uncle had the, he made saddles. I had a
Yeah.
saddle from him. He made saddles and harness and I used to breed my horses from him. He had a beautiful
Yeah.
stallion up there and it was on the main street, up the hill.
Mm.
And Hog's with him there now, and he made all the bridal halters and everything. Oh, I know.
So, but that is part of the whole way of life.
Yeah,
And we can choose to kind of, like with your mural, you kind of geographically
Yeah.
are limited. But your website, if you have a QR code, your website is unlimited. So, you can pick one story to feature that would bring people to the website and you can really expand on that.
Yeah.
So, and I think these stories that are very rich and real, I think those are really, really great things to add to it, right? Because there is more than what a picture can, but it's inviting them to go
Oh,
to
yeah.
the website to get more and to see more and understand more about the heritage.
but wasn't there a map back when we did the branding? When we started to brand the cat in Monica, there was a map and you could click on it.
I feel like this is through your chair, is part of the cultural map that we were talking about earlier, that,
And it brings up stuff.
that's right, you could click on it and bring up the houses.
I don't have. But you could pick on you, and we did all of that, and
This would be different. This is
Yeah.
on the GIS.
Yeah.
and we did that through the branding.
No, this was a cultural mapping project. This is special.
Yeah.
This is its own project.
But there was one that we did, and it branded, but it's more modern and brings up. But the older stuff's not.
They reproduce it kind of on the website.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're thinking, Ian?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
Well,
know.
this is a great catalyst, right?
exactly.
The minute you do a QR with most millennials and the Zetters and everything else, they're not gonna, it's what's on my phone. So for them to be able to, in an instant, get a feel for what's happening with core back in the 40s and 30s, whatever, that would really give them a better appreciation of stepping
Yeah.
back in time.
And there's the old funeral home, the yellow funeral home,
Yeah. That nobody would know that it was that.
not by looking at it.
No,
Mhm. These are great stories.
yeah,
Yeah,
tons, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Especially with all the newbies coming into town, right? You actually
You don't
know
know.
what has happened here before you know, that's,
But that's what lead into a great discussion at the end when we talk about other things for you guys to do. That would be one thing.
That's
That,
right.
pick a business, pick a location, do the research, find the photos. And then our
Add it to our-
technical wizards can ensure that it gets included with the QR code.
We have to go to the Heritage Historical Society.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
thought-
yeah.
well, I'm gonna certainly bring that up at our next meeting.
But I think if, John, if you could kind of, send me the concept that you were kind of referring to, we can use that as kind of a follow-up
Yep.
basis for a follow-up discussion with the artist to kind of come up with, something a little bit more modern as what you were saying.
And then just for clarification, if you thought to bring it back to the next meeting. in a
I would
revised
think
concept.
so, yeah. I don't think we want to go too far down a road without the blessing of this committee. I think that, I think that's important.
And just as we're thinking, is that this is something that I'm doing on a daily basis, is that there's technology now where you can use a perforated metal that you can put graphics on. So for example, instead of saying, well, we're gonna put the mural on one of the wood panels.
No, actually, so our intent is to work with the artist to come up with kind of the design that, and he had said the same thing, there's
Okay.
latest technology that you can put that on to a more permanent, like not a wood structure, but something that is a little bit more weather resistant, I guess.
Right.
It's kind of to kind of, so he would work with that individual or that company to create the sign,
Right.
is the intent.
But for example, for septet criteria, if you were gonna put a big panel, let's say, for example, one side of the gazebo. You couldn't do that solid because now you've got an issue with security. But if it's perforated and you can see through it.
Yeah.
Then you kill two birds with one
More of a
stone.
screen than it is.
Yeah, so you got a screen, it's kind of a pixelated image.
Yeah.
But then there's other ways of having a more denser part of the graphic content in another part of that overall scheme. And then the QR is that's the big kicker. As soon as you get them interested, I'm gonna check this out. Mission accomplished, right?
That's great.
So it would be fantastic as your historical society membership and role, if you could say that we are interested in pursuing some of these stories, and if they would be willing to assist us, we would very much like to partner with them.
Do we need any motion there or?
So I think through you, Chair, let's finalize the work plan and then we can just do a final motion.
Okay,
right
to
after.
capture everything, okay.
We'll just categorize it all in the work plan. And it's probably easiest to keep that document live and living so we remember all our updates.
Okay. Sorry, did we talk about the existing mural and its restoration and maintenance? I don't believe we did.
No,
Okay.
we didn't.
So
So
number 6.
it's kind of a short update. So the artist did come and did some restoration on the mural. We did include as part of our kind of our operating budget for the committee funds to be able to bring the artist back on an annual basis if needed to do restoration. Obviously, our weather here in beautiful Ontario is unpredictable and in some cases harsh. So we have to, keep our existing mural in good shape.
Number 7, the 2019-2020 downtown CIP incentives.
Yeah, so that's also kind of another short, through you, Chair, a short update. I think as I had mentioned to the committee as kind of an ongoing update, when we launched the CIP at the very, very beginning, it was right at the beginning of COVID. So we had a lot of projects that were outstanding that we had to carry funds over for probably about 2 to 3 years. I think we offered 2 extensions just because they couldn't get suppliers, right? And then when they were able to contract suppliers, they were on a wait list. And so now that things are somewhat back to normal-ish, I hate to say that and jinx it, but all our 2019 and 2020 and 2021 projects are completed. There were a few that were, there were some, sorry, I'm getting my words mixed up here. There was some unspent funds from the previous CIP program. So all of the projects no more extensions have been offered. They are completed, but there are some unspent funds. So we had asked council if we could just roll that into the next 2024 CIP iteration, which will be starting shortly. So we actually have a pretty healthy fund. So it's about 59,000 at the time that we took the report to council. It was before December, so projects applicants still had till the end of December to finish their project. So we did have one that kind of came in. So we have probably about 55,000, which is pretty healthy. We're pretty excited about that for the 2024 CIP grant program.
And that program is going to be opened up to the entire municipality.
Yes, sorry, yes, thank you, Karen, for prompting me. So that program will be opened up to the entire municipality, so it include all CIP areas, which is Millbrook, the urban fringe, which is kind of up here, and then the rural area.
We are the fringe.
You're the fringe, yeah, yes. So,
Number 10, the DL, Springville and Ebenezer Cemetery signage.
So the DL signage, we have the wording finalized. We have the sign.
Yep.
Has it been installed? I'm sorry.
I believe it
Has
has,
been
yes,
installed.
yes,
So we
yeah,
believe that the DL parquet is looking smashing.
yes.
And so we're pretty proud of ourselves. So good job, committee. So Springville and Ebenezer Cemetery signage is still ongoing.
Okay.
So I will confess to you, the Ebenezer Cemetery has been a little bit challenging in terms of finding information. So we have information about the church that was associated with the cemetery. It happened to be located on Sharp Line and not Stewart. The cemetery is on Stewart Line. We have a list of names now, the people who were buried there, so we can, I've made a contact for someone who can help me find out a little more information on those. So we are still pursuing that.
Okay.
And I believe Nancy is gonna help in that as well, because she has some history there. Springville Cemetery. So it sits on Highway 7, as you know. MTO is doing an update of information that they did years ago, because there will be some highway widening projects. So we are waiting for that information to be complete, to be able to use some of that information for the signage, because we've also asked, if you remember from last year, that when Springville Church is removed or demolished, that we be gifted certain parts of the church. And then we'll have to decide what we do with those items, and where we put those items. And if we're gonna put those items in the cemetery, the signage is gonna need to reflect the connection and what the items are, et cetera. So it is a work in progress. And we will keep you posted. But I believe that the last word I had from the consultant that was retained by MTO was they were very close to completing their report and submitting it to MTO. So I will follow up with them to see where they are.
Okay.
That's been with them for a while now. Yes.
I'm not caring if they're gonna widen the highway, are they gonna move part of their cemetery? Or are they
No.
gonna move their highway east?
So the original transportation environmental study report that was done, I don't want to say 10 years ago, but they're updating it now. The widening would occur to the east. They are not affecting the cemetery.
Yeah, one time they were talking about breaking the 11th line down around.
That is still the plan.
Down
So
around
the
side.
11th line, which is Sharp Line, will be dead-ended at the highway. But as it today, but Sharp Line will become south of the cemetery and will line up with Brown Line. So you will have a proper intersection. So, and you will see, because there's a new subdivision out there, that the way the subdivision has been designed has taken into account the proposed redesign of that intersection and the eventual closure of Cathcart Crescent access to Highway 7. So, but you will note in the Springville Cemetery, there is a fence that goes around the cemetery. So that fence is courtesy of previous MTO issue. So that Springville Cemetery will be, as it is, it will be maintained as it is today. It's about $5.
It's gonna move the road around.
That is.
Be a friendly reminder to those of speaking. Cemetery.
They might not build that road in our time.
Yeah, everything with
We
MTO, just so you know, is dependent on budget and priority. And as we know, that is a continually fluctuating situation.
Item number 11, so this has been, or has been our porch light project holder. Do we just skip that or? We've already discussed that.
Yeah.
We'll just
We'll
take it
just,
off.
we'll just take it off.
We'll just edit for the next one,
Yeah.
okay. Number 12, restoration of the bell in the former municipal office. So we already have our instruction from council where that's going, but this, I guess, would be the time to have a general conversation about the information and photos that you have with you, sir, that you can present to us.
I have the photos here, like, and have a look at them, make it show the bell and the harness that holds it upright. On the next page there, that will have to be sandblasted off, and then they put a coating on this sheer thing. I think what we have to do, possibly maybe through this group here, is gather all the information we can, so when they do put up the bell up, it'll say where it came from or how it's still in over.
Okay.
The bells have a habit of migrating around here. So we sing. So, and I believe from talking to council that will be on the budget for the recreation committee, if they're gonna put the bell downtown, it'll be their responsibility to cost of putting it down, isn't it?
The Parks and Facilities Department.
Or facilities, yeah, that'll be their expense. They're mounted someplace down there in the park, in the build this park. But possibly our goal would be to get as much information as we could to put on a plaque or something somehow, saying what it was or where it came from. So when people look at it, they go, okay, this is where it came from.
So could, oh, sorry.
And for those who you don't know, it came off the old township office downtown in Melbourne. Right up.
So would it be helpful if we revised, well, it will eventually, what we revised the chart, change it, I don't know, just something that it's not so much the restoration of the bell because that's going to be taken care of by another department. Just like supplementary information or some way of just creating a work plan task for us that captures just the gathering and the composition of the history of the bell.
So that, yeah, we could say, yeah, to be sure, we could say, we could change that to read, gathering of historical information.
Okay.
And then not to point things that you missed over, but would that be something that maybe we would see if the Historical Society had any information? Is that where we would start with that? And then we could maybe assign that project to somebody, that could kind of carry that baton to try to.
Well, yeah, I think we talked about this at one of our previous meetings about more partnership
Yeah.
with the Historical Society. This would be a great opportunity for them to jump on that and get Peter involved.
Up to you, Madam Chair, here, I guess we have to meet with the Historical Society and see who's going to restore this bell. Then have to be some budget money someplace when you start that. So who's going to restore it? Are we going to restore it and give it to that committee, or are they going to restore it?
Respectfully,
Yes.
through you, Madam Chairperson, this is a township initiative. So it'll be the work will be completed through Parks and Facilities. They're gonna be the coordinator
Yeah.
or the driver of the project, but they're gonna be looking for input from this committee. I'm sure, probably Public Works, maybe the planning department, maybe the building department, about where and how this bell gets installed in downtown. I think it would be up to the township to do the restoration because it is our project. I think the partnership with the Historical Society comes from the information, the signage that gets attached to this. Like, we want to tell the story, why this is important, why we have it so elegantly displayed.
And let them pay for the rest. That's
And this is
Well-
in a safe place?
yeah, it is. It's in the sea can.
Okay.
That, eh?
We'll keep it in a safe place.
Yeah, it's in the same place. Well, yeah, we're in the same place, yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess until somebody cuts the locks.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I think that's it for our work plan.
If I may, Madam-
Yes, sure.
So, Madam Chairperson, so we, staff did talk about, we do have the cultural mapping.
Okay,
It is a 2010 document.
okay,
It does list a lot of cultural heritage features that are not designated. We do not have a register. So if the committee is inclined, this is another project that members could take on, that staff could help identify priority locations that could benefit from research. Okay, so, and I know not everyone is comfortable with research, but that's something maybe we could partner with the Historical Society, because I know some members of the Historical Society have research capabilities and have indicated a willingness at least to train me. And if others were interested, they could participate and we could learn together and then maybe divide and conquer, at least start on a list, if you were interested.
so is that something we want to add to our work plan, just so that it doesn't get forgotten? Or how would we like to, because that is a very good idea, Karen. Now, just to clarify, nothing is listed, anything in this township, it's either designated or it's not. So we're
Correct.
not in panic mode with the
Where
new
you're not in panic
legislation
mode.
of 2 years. Fantastic.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's why I thought, if we're gonna embark on this, and you can decide whatever you want, but if we prioritized properties or assets that we thought were the most important, we could eventually list them and then designate them, like we could get our information together and then go tick, 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 right, as
Yep.
opposed to
Yep.
identifying and leaving it.
And in the same vein, I think there may be items on the list that probably don't need to, like, I think, like, there may be some barns that have, in the time that they were identified, have kind of fallen down.
Yeah, and there's
Or been
cultural
taken
assets
down.
out here in terms of businesses that no
Yeah.
longer exist.
Yes.
Like, we're not gonna update the plan, we don't have a budget for that necessarily, but at least we could take the information that we do have and start picking the good stuff, and then, maybe at some point in the time, we revisit the cultural map.
But that's sort of like almost, as you were sharing earlier about some of the buildings and their history and how they tie into ACDev and selling history to people that wouldn't, they would drive through Millbrook and think nothing of it. But all of a sudden now there's a bit more cultural information and stuff. They're like, hey, you know what? Because that's a great marketing tool. We're finally waking up to what the Americans have been doing for years, right? There's some historical and cultural value. I'm gonna pump that and get people to come to my location and say, this is what this used to be. So how they all tie in together is really, I think, a cool thing.
Does anybody know, this is just, where all the files that Larry Mann had? Larry was very much into history and stuff like that. Like he even told me, and I didn't know, and I lived there, was Ida in the store. It used to be a bootleg before, as it came down. I don't know, do you remember, Nels?
We didn't advertise them signs. Where the mouse?
But
I
Larry said,
didn't know it was, but there was a grad fair item run by a BB family, and it used
yeah,
to be a,
and then he's got it.
yeah, it used to be a sign on there, yeah.
And then it came, like, when I grew up, it came to be a grocery store.
Yeah.
And you could you could get your groceries there. I can still give you the floor layout of the grocery store and and it was a mail store.
Yeah.
And they delivered the mail there. Because my address was Ida. And the lady that owns the house now, she was in one time and I was talking to her and they saved the ring. She said there's a ring on the front step because the step was actually on County Road 10, the store step, when it was always called the middle road and it was gravel. So when they built the step, it was a 3-tier step. She said, there's a ring there. And I said, yeah, it's for tying up my horse. I used to ride my pony up there. And
Yeah, I honestly don't know what happened to the photos.
Well, the file, like, he had history, and I know he dealt with Bethany. There was a lady in Bethany he dealt with, but after, like, we didn't even know that his wife had passed away. And, so we don't know, there's nobody to contact if all the files went to Peterborough.
I will try and, because this sounds very familiar, and I know the Historical Society has a whack of either hard drive or CDs or something. I know,
Could be.
we were talking about that,
There could be CDs, because I know I have a CD of certain things.
right?
Because I know Norm Bain, he was one of the ones that was there when I came,
Right,
and his files got sent to Peterborough.
yeah, I know there's. I was talking to the executor of the estate. He's still got a whack of information, and he said some of it. The wife had asked in her will that some goes to Peterborough, some goes to Millbrook, and, I just have to follow.
That would be great. So sorry, just so we sort of capture back to what Karen presented, did we want to add this cultural mapping to the work plan, even as just a placeholder? I'm even thinking, Karen, if we do add it, and if someone does want to volunteer just to go through to see if, like, right off the top, is there anything that we need? Is there something that needs to be identified now? Like, that's why there was such an issue with the bylaws, is that with Millbrook growing so quickly and how little there was in the bylaws, things happen very quickly, and that's what happened at one of our meetings. We had a proposal put in front of us, and the committee was sort of on both sides about what was going to happen to this house, but at the end of the day, the bylaws said nothing. So we really had no right to say anything. So it's kind of the same thing. It's if we don't go through now this mapping that we have at our fingertips and look now and move now, it could be lost. So is there anyone that
Yeah,
would be willing to go through it to sort of, especially too, if you have like the knowledge, oh, this is something that is not been designated, maybe we should make it a priority.
just to verify the bylaws. I did the bylaws for cabin, okay, that were designated and stuff like that. They gave us the wording from the ministry when we would designate them, what was put in the bylaw. And that was all we could go by.
And that was what was, like, that's what the requirements were in the 80s.
Yeah.
So it was, and there was nothing wrong with them at that point. It's just when the bylaw came in front of us, we just realized, oh, they're not up to.
That's right, because they wouldn't know, and, Gail and I both lived in the area, but she lived in a house down on Zion. She house sat for a gentleman. And, so she got to know the village, and she knew where everybody was. I grew up here. So that's one of the things, and when we would council as a whole, would go out to different places. Like just east of Peterborough here, there's a block building, that we looked at. And it was made out of, blocks, wooden blocks, cut this way, but it was stacked this way when they built it. And they used it for burn. And we were trying to decide how to save it. And they were thinking of sending it to Lang Village. But I don't think it ever went.
Is it still there?
I don't know if it's still there. I know where it is.
It's pretty unique.
Maybe after, and I'll tell you.
Is that something that's on the mapping, but.
I don't know if that's not,
Yeah.
so you need to tell us where it is, so we can at least.
Well, that's just the first farm.
Well, don't say it here, but. But we'll talk about it. Yeah, but I think what Ashley's trying to say is, just to be clear, so we need enough meat in the bylaw, so if someone comes forward with a proposal.
That's
To
right.
alter their house. Or their accessory building, whatever it is, we have enough meat in the bylaw to be able to properly assess whether those changes are appropriate.
And there was no criticism to anyone that
Yes.
worked on them at that point in time when they were created. You were following guidelines at that point.
Yeah.
All they've been done is updated to what is expected of today, and like Karen just said, more meat to protect those
Yeah.
structures themselves. Lots of things change over that time period, and they've just figured out having more content is more beneficial.
Like I did one house and I had to do the paint scrapings. I had to get paint scrapings off the gingerbread. Because at that point, there was, that chemical in the paint. Well, nowadays you can't buy that chemical that's in the paint. It's all chemical free. But I had paint scrapings that I kept in an envelope and I sent it to them as a package. But someone would come and have their house designated. They'd want it designated. As soon as they got the designation, got the $3,000 and got the other $3,000, they left the committee.
Okay, so unless there's anything else, or like I mentioned before we had a couple other conversations, we do want to include that mapping on our work plan. I guess now is the time to do it. If not, then we can just have a motion to sort of accept it with the edits we've discussed the last.
I just know from my limited time in being here in Millbrook, there's people like you, Diane, and others that have so much history, but it hasn't been written down.
No, it's all in my head.
Right, so, you know, there's some people from the historical society were interviewing people at the nursing home to try and get information, because once they're gone, then that information isn't there, and unfortunately, most of the millennials don't seem to be interested in history per se, to chase it like we want to do. So like, to me, the cultural mapping, that information that makes those properties rich needs to come from people such as yourself that have a knowledge of what those buildings were and what they included. So how do we capture that?
So it sounds like maybe we do put cultural mapping on here, and then it can morph as we sort of.
Exactly.
It's not only just what in the GIS, but also maybe a verbal documentation as well. Okay,
I think that's appropriate, because if you happen to be at a social function and you meet somebody who's really interesting and has details about something, it's your job as a member of this committee to do an interview, get it down paper, translate it, and go use it. Never miss an opportunity.
okay.
So keep your cell phone with you on record.
Great.
Or you can identify that this person has a great story to tell.
Yeah.
And bring it back to the committee, and we can appoint people to do a formal interview or collect the information. Whatever, like, it can be, what is the word I'm looking for, you know, like flexible or.
Yes.
You know, it can move with, but however we need to make it happen,
You can massage it to
Yeah,
suit. Okay,
exactly.
okay, fantastic. Okay, so can I have a motion for the work plan as discussed? Do we need to go over the?
No, that's good, and I will just add the cultural mapping and then we'll do the updated.
Okay,
Great.
great. Okay, so motion please.
I move or
Okay.
I second.
And second, fantastic, done.
And we'll include the 8.3.1 now.
Here, 8.4, our 2024 meeting schedule.
For you, Vice Chair, as we go through our term of office, we do currently only have 4 meetings scheduled for the year, and these are the proposed dates, similar to what we did in 2023. Obviously, if we, have good momentum, or we want to reconvene, we can absolutely do that at the call of the chair. So we're just looking, to kind of put these in placeholders in everybody's calendar for 2024, as long as no one sees any quick objections when they're having a look.
Okay. Oh, is there, here's the back. That's today, March 21st. At this point, it looks fine to me. Anyone else?
So just a motion to approve the
Okay.
2024 meeting schedule.
If we can have a motion to approve sorry.
Sorry,
Okay,
we were being bad.
Oh. A motion to approve the 2024 meeting schedule, please. Okay. Great. And then I guess our last item is just to adjourn the meeting. Can I have a motion to? Thank you. Second. That's it for today. Thank you, everyone.